2001 Pontiac Firebird Trans Am WS6. The holdover from the 90s. Oh yeah, my dick is so hard right now!
Step right up, all aboard. Back in 2001, this car I couldn't afford. Now me and Regular are rebuilding a Ford. And if you wanna talk smack, I'll send you back to the Lord.
When you're a Corvette, everybody is going after you. GM is one big dysfunctional family, and it always has been. There is no way a company as big as GM can exist without infighting somewhere, even within the same shared platform. The Firebird was always less about performance and more about Pontiac swinging haymakers trying to prove to Jehovah General Motors, the all-seeing one, that yes, your son Pontiac is still useful. I exist. Quit giving Chevy all the attention. See, drivers who were born in 1995 saw this car, the WS6, when they were 6 years old. They saw the WS6 screaming past the family Plymouth Voyager. That crackling loud exhaust from the Pypes, those big linebacker nostrils intimidating Lower Paxton and all of the Harrisburg area. The WS6 harkens back to 1960s dealer order sheets. You know, back when you checked off all the options? The WS6 really doesn't refer to the Pontiac Trans Am or the Firebird. That's just a cool way to describe this particular car with the LS1 engine. Yeah, it has a Corvette engine in it. But who on earth bought the WS6 package new? This isn't... It's cheap, but not quite... Someone had to buy these things new. So who wants a Corvette, but not a Corvette? Well, dads. Dads bought this car new and then started to trickle down to either sons who they maybe trusted, or when they became too old to handle a car like this, put it up for sale, and then it got to younger and younger generations, until it finally got to those 1995 kids who can finally afford one. And there it appears in the senior parking lot in high school. You know, the cool seniors that you looked up to you when you were freshmen? There it is. Or maybe you're a freshman now, and you see that one guy, and he's got the big Firebird, and every single time it comes for dismissal, it's pastime with big schwag. Oh, you know WS6 drivers, when they're leaving school, they still have they have their soap numbers on the right window because, oh yeah, they're gonna tell everybody they're going to Maple Grove Raceway and laying down times. But the dads who wanted this car are the people who had the Z28 from the pre-embargo General Motors era, the pre-smog and catalytic converter era. And thank you to Pypes Performance, this car, it doesn't particularly belong to them, but it's one of their test mules, so it has all their stuff on it. And this thing is far from stock. This is an aggressive LS1 breathing real easy into a very roided out frame. In 2001, when this car was new, I was a sophomore in college, and the big block V8s were facing a lot of pressure because that's when tuner culture began. You can thank Fast and the Furious if you want, but this is an in-between era car. We're seeing a resurgence for the WS6 now because supercharging and turbocharging is really getting good. So you can take whatever this car made, and we'll talk about numbers in a minute, but these things are capable of well over 500 horsepower and 600 pound-feet of torque. It all depends on your budget, and it all depends on money and budget and money. Oh, money's getting dumped into these now. The WS6 was the final answer to the Mustang Camaro argument, even though this isn't a Camaro. In 2001, this was destroying anything Ford could lay down. It had it beat for revs, it had it beat for displacement, it had it beat for torque. WS6, the official car of Screw It. My second kid isn't going to college. Pontiac Firebird, brought to you by screwing with the Wendy's drive-thru attendant. WS6 drivers fall into three categories. 1, the rarest, keep it like it is. Number 2, the sloppy and not so sloppy mechanics, who I mentioned before, who are pushing over 500 horsepower with these things. Or the third category, pro-charger huffing, dicks sporting goods managing, tiny mustache having guys with girlfriends who are cool with a little choke play. The safe word is knob creek. If you own a WS6 and you have it with a stick shift, you care about driving. If you own an automatic Trans Am, more burnouts have been done by the valet than the driver. But think about how far cars have come since 2001. All right, the 2000 Trans Am with the WS6 package went 0 to 60 in 5 seconds in 2001. A 2015 Ford Mustang V6 with a manual goes 0 to 60 in 5.5 seconds. And a 2015 Honda Accord manual V6 goes 0 to 60 in 5.8 seconds. So does that mean a Trans Am with a WS6 package is only a little bit better than a 2015 Honda Accord? No. Horsepower is what you brag with, but torque is what you feel. WS6. For the guy who holds onto his pockets to keep his balance on the way out of the bar and through the parking lot. Time for history on the WS6. Initially, this car was intended to be a fast, sexy, two-seat sports car to cut through the counterculture and deliver an experience that even the most jaded would-be revolutionaries would want to drive. GM wanted to use the Banshee concept car to make this a reality, but executive meddling killed the idea in the crib, since the notion was that making the Firebird to specifications would mean the Corvette would have internal competition, and General Motors wasn't about to let an unproven idea risk damaging one of their more valuable brands. And so we got the ultimate second-hand sports car, at least for one generation. Over the years, Pontiac redefined the model. Sure, they still had to use the Camaro chassis and body panels, and even the same front and rear fenders, not to mention doors and even some engine models, but tiny changes were made to allow the Firebird to become distinct in its own right. From the split front grille and the kind of ram air, Pontiac redefined the look and developed the Firebird brand to the point where it was something wholly separate and distinct from the Corvette and Camaro. See, Pontiac is supposed to be the more expensive and more comfortable and higher performance Chevy. Whatever the Camaro, if you go all the way back to the 60s, the Camaro was something, but if it had a Pontiac badge, it was supposed to be faster. And this goes back to that thinking, even though the writing was on the wall for Pontiac at this time. And sure, one of the brands became iconic, while the other one didn't. But the Firebird is a car categorized by bourbon-soaked personality. This is the car for the driver whose father reeks of grizzly wintergreen and who's still trying to work out his relationship with the old bastard. Dad had a Firebird himself, but he sold it for peanuts to feed his moist snuff habit. Knock knock. Who's there? God. God who? Finally, someone is asking the right questions. Smokey and the Bandit 2 was initially released with the goal of boosting sales for the Firebird in 1981. Despite the aftermarket upgrades, the plan didn't really work on anyone without the last name Archer. The revised front end featured a twin nostril nose, which had the net, that is a very important word, net result of increasing the length of the car by about an inch. It's the equivalent of a penis pump, except the extra inch wasn't imagined by the placebo effect. The 2001 brought minor increases in power. For instance, the LS1 was bumped up to 310 brake horsepower, while the WS6 got it up a bit higher, to 325 horsepower. Like Waylon Jennings and Dave Thomas from Wendy's, 2001 and 2002 were the last years for the Firebird. The Firebird went gentle into that good night, failing to burn and rave at close of day anywhere but in the hearts of those who owned and loved this emblematic treasure. And as I drove this machine, I wanted to terrorize the world. I wanted to let them know that I exist. I wanted to thrill and delight every passing school child. Hear me.
Fear me a little.
I'm right
behind you.
More information on this 2001 Pontiac Trans Am WS6 package. This has 15,000 original miles. And it also has Pypes catback exhaust with violator mufflers and a Volant CAI. Pypes Performance is also supplying the exhaust system for the Vagabond Falcon when we reach to that point. So thank you so much. Pypes is a Pennsylvania company and we're a Pennsylvanian show. And why not give a shout out? Pypes Performance Exhaust, 2705 Clemens Road, Building 105A, Hatfield, Pennsylvania, 19440. You can also call them at 1-800-421-3890. And of course online at pipesexhaust.com.
Cause baby, you're a Firebird. Come on, show 'em what you're. I hate this stupid ass song.